GRWA water sales. What I forgot.
Just clarify for me, Mr. Mayor, when are you going to go into executive session?
After the reports.
Okay.
Okay, water sales. As I think most of you are aware, Thursday at the GRWA monthly meeting, a question had been raised from the Wakefield representative regarding whether the transmission line, the proposed transmission line from Chicago Line and Wakefield back to Township would go through if the authority decided to continue purchasing water from Bessemer. And as we mentioned at the last meeting, Bessemer we are in the process of putting a proposal together. The comments that were made by the administrator, or the response actually by the administrator and Mr. Ricker, the chairman, were yes, it would, which kind of floored me. The discussion that we had the week prior that Mr. Olson and Mr. Nelson and Mr. Chattel and I attended, we left there, at least our side of the table, left there with a completely different impression. Mr. Chattel had suggested or asked that if Bessemer came in with a competitive rate and the authority decided to continue the purchase of water from the city of Bessemer, then, the question was, what would be the possibility of using the current grant money that's out there along with the loan for other GRA or GRWA projects to be, whatever priority throughout the entire authority. And the response was that it could, as long as, and it would also include the refinancing as long as the project costs were $1.
That would preserve the refinancing.
Yes, exactly. So, as I mentioned, when they responded that this proposed transmission line would go through regardless of our proposal, like I said, it kind of floored me. After a lengthy discussion, both during the main meeting and then with Mrs. Burgess and Mr. Rickert afterwards, the bottom line that they came to me, or that they told me, was just what I said: this line is going through. Now, again, I'm only repeating, but basically the line is going to go through. And I had asked the question of, is there anything that would stop that, in her opinion? And the answer was, at this point, no. That's the bottom line was that this is going through. During the meeting, I looked, Neil was in attendance. I asked Neil, it's like, okay, what did I miss in all of this? And, Neil took away the same thing that I did, and what Doug did, what Tom did. Like I say, completely different impression than what the executive council of the authority.
It was my opinion that they weren't going to proceed with their plans until they at least looked at our proposal and discussed it with us. That was my impression.
That was pretty much the impression from that standpoint also. The engineer that was in attendance from C2AE, who's designing this project, stated during the course of our discussions in the meeting that he was going to continue designs as if this was going down US 2, and that he couldn't wait, to wait before he started doing something. He said that he needed to know from a design standpoint by the end of the month which way the authority was going to go with this. Was it going to go down US 2? Was it going to zigzag Bessemer?
John, I just have one question. The meeting that you had, and I already know the answer to this, that the four of you had, was with Gene Burgess and was with Walter Rickert, am I correct?
Gene Walt, two representatives from Ironwood Township,
okay.
Not just Kim was there, and Jerry Grenfell from Bessemer.
So Gene and Walt were the ones who did agree, in all four of your understanding, that they weren't going to proceed with this, that they were going to look at the monies to maybe do work elsewhere, that they were going to wait and see the type of proposal that Bessemer came through with the sales of water at that. I mean, is that kind of the gist of what happened there?
I think the bottom line, and Doug and John and Neil, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the bottom line, excuse me, was that at a minimum, everybody was going to take a deep breath.
Right.
And for the next 2 or 3 weeks, the city was going to do some rate analysis. Jim and I would work on that, maybe even get a little bit outside help if we needed it, but I don't think we do. And then get back with it. I mean, that was, I thought it was explicit.
And we asked about a time, if there's any rush to timeline, and she didn't, and Jean Burvis didn't seem like there was a big problem with time.
No, we mentioned 2 to 3 weeks, and they were fine.
When you had the meeting Thursday, who, in addition, was at that meeting other than Randy Scott?
The board.
The entire board was there. I mean, there might have been one person absent or whatever, but representatives, both Iowa Township representatives, Mr. Grenfell from Bessemer Township, Wakefield Township. I mean, I got ganged up by all of them.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't a pretty sight.
How many members are on the board?
11, I believe.
And how many are favoring this to happen, to come down the middle of the road?
10.
Well,
Nine.
the two Bessemer votes, and, we might be able to get the at-large like we did when they voted to take the proposal off the table to come through Bessemer. So it's overwhelmingly, and it was abundantly clear, based on the conversation and the comments made during last Thursday's meeting, that the majority of the GRWA board is overwhelmingly in favor of doing this project.
I think it is important to note, however, Mr. Mayor, that the last time there was a formal vote on this, the Wakefield representative voted negatively, voted no.
Actually, he's the at-large. He's an at-large.
He's from Wakefield.
From Wakefield.
From Wakefield.
Yeah.
At that one meeting, and I had asked Jean Burvis this point blank. If they were buying water from Wakefield at a cheaper cost, was Iowa Township and Bessemer Township going to see a reduction in water rates? And Jean Burvis told me point blank, no.
That's probably true.
So I don't understand why they're advertising that they want to get water at a cheaper rate when none of the citizens, none of the purchasers are going to see the benefit. Their water rate is not going to go down by any way, shape, or form. They're going to be paying the same amount of money. The only people who are going to benefit is going to be the engineer, the contractor, and Wakefield for a short time.
Well, Wakefield for a long time.
Not if Wakefield ends up putting in a water plant, because it has already been said that the GRWA will not fund the water plant. Wakefield has to fund the water plant. So Wakefield, their water rates are going to go. When this whole thing was designed, it wasn't in the initial plan, this whole spec. When the water plant was put in Bessemer, it was put in to service, and I'm just going to say 10,000 people because I don't know the exact numbers. And now it was put in to serve more people than what we have, and our business has gone down, 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 down. What is the necessity for this water line, or is it just because they have free money and they want to use it? There's so many other things that it's needed for. In this day and age with the economy and the way it is, do we have to spend free money just because it's there for something that is not necessary, that we don't need? I don't get it. Or are they angry with Bessemer because Bessemer wouldn't go down on their rates for water? What is the bottom line? Why do they want to put this water line in?
Here's some part of the way I look at it, and I've been around that water authority for a long time. I was when they built the whole line was basically built, other than the last one. And the focus was always on a regional system from that end to this end. So if there's a problem someplace, if that end could feed this end, it could feed this way, and so forth. That can happen right now.
Yes, it can.
Wakefield can, if they come in and jump into us, if we have a problem, we can jump into Wakefield, they have a problem. If we have a problem transmitting down that way, somebody down or can't get up down that way, Wakefield can kick in. If we can't do nothing, Ironwood. They kick in for that from Margaret's speech. So,
Yeah, as it stands right now, we can all, everybody can
So,
support the
in
other.
my mind, I bring that up, I see no reason for this project at all like this.
No.
And from a reasonable point of view. But I'll tell all of you in this room, every time, 4 times now, I talked to Mrs. Curtis, and with Rickard did on these long, once, twice was just her and I talking, once was when I was the alternate in that meeting in April, and the other time was this meeting we just had. When pressed hard enough, why? That to answer your question. All the other excuses, well, you're charging too much, you may not be able, you can't supply it, all these reasons that are superfluous as far as I'm concerned. Our plant can service them very well. It always comes down to one thing. So, previous council, one member from Steamson stand out of her mind, Mr. Carpinello, always said, Ron Carpinello said this is our rate, and take it or leave it. Now, did he or didn't he? I have no idea. I don't care. But she said that every time. There's got to be one of the reasons in her mind. I don't think it's only one. But one of them. And that's why I asked her that meeting we had, that last one, why are you punishing Dozen? And she brought that up again. Still brought it up. I don't know what happened. I don't care. I don't care. The rate that council negotiated $4.95. This one has offered at least 3 times that I can think of to negotiate with them. March 7th, they said no. I offered it the night that I was the alternate. No. This time, it seemed like they were going to do it once again, the second time. The rug got cut out before we even had a chance to even seriously talk here among ourselves. Meeting. The last time, the first time was they finally gave us that paper that said that we were $4.79 plus the streets. I don't believe the number, but they gave it. After much pushing, shoving, lettering, whatever. When I walked on the council in October, and this started coming up, nobody had any idea what the number was. Why not? We wrote a letter, didn't get an answer. Wrote another one. Didn't really get an answer. A couple phone calls why they generated it. Was it an accurate answer? I can't say it was or wasn't. But before we had a chance to bring it here, we all had it individually at home. But we had no chance to meet as a council to discuss that particular thing, which was one of the essential points to decide whether we wanted to allow them to come down the streets or not. They cut the rug out right under it, right in front of me in the meeting. We can't wait any longer. I make a motion like Madsen did to remove that option and come down the highway. Boom. She didn't care. The rest of them didn't care, other than Mr. Anderson and then Mr. Pavlovich and myself. That's what they all voted for a motion to do that. Now again, we went to them at Mr. Rickard's request. I was talking to him on the phone. I asked, his meeting thing started out. I called him up the day after that meeting. I was in the alternate in April. I asked him why. Why did he vote for it? Why didn't he at least let us talk about it here? He says, you're probably right. Let's have a meeting. So I was helping to set up the meeting. We did that. The 4 of us were there. They had their executive board there. With that group, it's appropriate the executive board meets and to discuss business when the whole board isn't there. That's part of their charter. And they can do business in the absence of the immediate board. There are certain things they can't do, but this thing they could have. And during that meeting, it came out that we kept pushing, and they agreed that we make up a proposal. They wanted documentation to come with it. That how we got to the figures, whatever we proposed to them with it on it. Our proposal would include a number of years probably. That we haven't talked about that yet. Right now, we're getting the figures. And once again, before we're done doing it, and with the purpose saying, there's no real time rush. Several weeks is fine. Several weeks wasn't fine. That was a week ago, or 10 days ago. I would have thrown it if it comes again. I'm getting kind of unhappy with those people. We can't. They're impossible to deal with. We don't have any agreement with those people. They never did, but coming down the streets, they said, I asked one time, I said, what about the water pipes that are in the streets? on Peck, you come down along it, there's old pipes, there is everywhere in this town, every time we dug up a street, they break. What happened, and I says, who's gonna replace that? There's old sewer lines in there, who's gonna replace that? You move the dirt. What's gonna happen when in the following spring, when the frost comes, that dirt moves and screws those pipes up, then break this year? Oh, well, it says, I promise you can pay for that. Where is it? On a piece of paper. I got his promise we could, basically, essentially, that we could, they'd listen to our proposal too. That word was broken. And as far as Mr. Ricker goes, I held him high esteem. He and I have got along, he's on the straight through for years. And I don't understand why now. All of a sudden, he tells us something and then boom, before we change his mind without even a phone call, without even a warning, all of a sudden, authority meets bank, that's it. And the same thing goes with Mrs. Burgess. I've been work with her for 20-some years. And she's never been this way until now either. I don't know. The only thing I come up with is, number one, what I just reiterated to, that there's got to be some kind of vendetta in there, some kind of a thing to show Bessemer that who's in charge. That's my honest opinion. And I'm entitled to my opinion, that's a nice thing about America.
Opinions are like noses. Everyone has one, Doug. Opinions are like noses. Everyone has one.
I know, that's nice. There are people around, of course, that don't think we should, but, no. If they were to come to him and we're talking with them, they say, well, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this. We investigate every get the writing from now on. I find it very disturbing to me as a person, having dealt with these two individuals, that all of a sudden, I feel like I can't trust them anymore. Maybe I can, but I don't right now. They have lost their integrity with me.